From the top of the Empire State Building, broadcasting to the world and beyond, networking to build your net worth with the Everyday Entrepreneur Experience. So sit back and crank up the volume. You're now listening to the Pest Equity Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome back to the Pest Equity Podcast. I'm your host, Vinny E. Before we get started with this show, I just want to thank everyone that was involved in the renovation of our new studio. You guys did an amazing job. So once again, welcome everybody back to the podcast. We're going to be putting out consistent content. We are on the verge of getting our YouTube up and running. We're also going to be doing some live feeds on YouTube and Instagram. I want to thank everyone for the continual support, for following us on Instagram, all our new followers. Thank you. So let's get on with this show. On this episode, we pulled through many emails that have been sent to us about show topics and questions that want to be answered, and we decided to go with this one. It's having to do with mentors. I keep getting questions about how to find a mentor, so I decided on this episode, I'm going to teach you guys how not to find a mentor. So let's discuss how not to find a mentor. Now, don't get me wrong. Mentorship is one of the biggest keys to success. But believe it or not, there is a right and wrong way to seek out a mentor and build a mutual beneficial relationship. In many cases, the best mentoring happens without the formal label mentoring. Nobody goes around asking anybody to go study. Nobody sent a note saying, "Would you be my mentor?" followed by the yes, no, and maybe boxes to check, like when we were in junior high school. Questions were asked, thoughts were shared, and advice was given. Voila, an effortless mentor relationship is born. My first point, it's about the person, not their position. For me, mentorship is vital. I absolutely attribute a lot of my successes to being in a position where I had a lot of great mentors, people I could go to and ask for advice. The quality of mentors is really important as a young individual in the workplace because it really shapes your perspective on how work should be done. Now, for example, if you have a mentor that isn't the most forward-thinking or honest, I think that can be a bad thing. I've been very blessed to have had mentors that are incredibly honest and transparent and are quality leaders, and I think it has really helped shape who I am as a person. Don't always expect a relationship. Mentors come in all different forms. One key bit of advice I would give is not necessarily to look for someone that you can build a relationship with, but look for someone who you can ask a very simple question to, who can reply to an email very easily to you. What is it that you need? Don't look so much on, let's sit down and have coffee, or let's have a cocktail. But what is the one thing that you need this particular person that you're seeking a mentorship from to actually guide you through? Because I think that's what has helped me a lot, is when there's a certain question that I have and I kind of point it to the right person that I know who can actually answer it. My third point, instead of insisting on coffee or dinner meetings, be flexible. In the 35 to 45 age range, you have mothers who operate and think very different than dads. I'm sure everyone's asking why. Because mothers want and need time at home with their children. That time after work is precious. So no matter how amazing the event is, they probably won't come because family matters more. So when I'm networking, I can't think like a 29-year-old single guy. I have to think like the target I'm trying to attract. The same thing applies to young women. Don't approach them in the way that's most comfortable for you. Approach them where they're at and with them in mind. For example, I found that coffees aren't really the most effective way to meet people in certain demographics. It's imperative that we all try to find alternative and new ways to connect with people. That's a very important lesson I've learned over the many years. So, in addition to looking up for mentors, look to your right and left. It's critical to celebrate and lift your peers. People are chasing potential mentors, and we should always have a mentor or two, but support and rock with your peers. That girl standing next to you by the bus could be the one to hire you in 5 years, or could be the one contact at a major brand who sponsors dollars you need. It's a tiny planet, and relationships are everything. Don't ask a CEO for the roadmap. Ask for advice on how to navigate. Being a mentor is about just believing in somebody and caring enough to share your knowledge. My mentors don't necessarily have the answers to everything, but what they can do is to share wisdom and their experiences. When I met someone that I want to be my mentor, I just want them to tell me stories. I just want to sit with them and soak up as much history from their lives as I possibly can. There is this richness in history and the wisdom that comes from experience that trumps any kind of smarts. To me, that's what mentorship is, drawing from that wisdom. When someone who is 25 is asking me questions now at 43, that's what they're asking for. They aren't asking me to just tell them exactly what to do. They're asking me to care enough to give them the proper story for what they're looking for in their life at that time, because that's exactly what I ask for. I tell my mentors exactly what's going on with me, and I ask, is there anything in your life that you can draw from to help me? They've been there. I want to learn from the mistakes of that past. I want to learn from their successes. Now remember, to give and take. Don't be a greedy mentee. Mentorship is about being able to empower each other, being willing to listen, give advice, and coach people. In so many facets of my career, mentorship and the idea of empowering each other has been a huge factor in my success. Whether it was fundraising or general advice, finding people who are willing to talk to you about the process and believe in you and share their experiences has been a huge help to me. It's like a brotherhood. I love the opportunity to mentor other people and share my experiences, and hopefully have people learn from my mistakes and successes. Mentorship is not a life vest. Again, mentorship is not a life vest. You cannot reach and claw for people to save you from the deep end, or even save you from the shallow end. Some people are looking for mentors in the shallow end, not even doing anything that warrants a mentor. It should be mutually beneficial. I believe that if you're looking for someone to help you and you're not bringing anything to the table, that's really not cool. You should always bring something to your mentor's life. My mentor has never paid for a meal with me. I pay for every single meal because I appreciate him. He was the one who pushed me to stop selling myself short. He would say, "Vinny, you're better than this." He pushed me until I finally believed it. So my advice, stop trying to find a mentor. Finding a mentor won't save you, but something else might. The key to becoming a better leader is to go find a mentor who will help you build your career and guide you. How many LinkedIn articles do you think embrace something like that? Way too many for my liking, because frankly, it's not true. Go find a person who's been in that leadership position for 10 plus years and get them to be your mentor. Is ubiquitous advice, yet it falls flat when battle tested in the real world. Now, your question to yourself must be, why? I'll explain why. Early in my career, I really wanted somebody to save me. I really wanted a great mentor. I wanted somebody to just tell me how to do things and show me the road. But that person never materialized. I've had great friends and coworkers, and I've had great moments where I've had insights with individuals, but I wouldn't say there was any one time or someone that took me under their wings, showed me what leadership looked like on that kind of consistent and ongoing basis. And so, I probably spun a lot of cycles, a lot of energy trying to find that person until I realized maybe I just needed to be a composite of the different pieces that I picked up along that way. I'm not alone in this experience. For the hundreds of managers and executives I've spoken to and worked with over the past almost 25 years, none of them have attributed their ability to lead well to a single mentor. Those magical, mythical mentors for us as leaders don't exist. Surely there are people with terrific experience and expertise who shared helpful pointers. I've been blessed to know a few folks like this myself. They offer wonderful insight from time to time, but are they you? That's the question. Leadership is not a transferable good. It's not a coat that someone wears and then you try it on for size. True leadership is thought and behavior that originates from the person, the leader themselves. It's the things you say and do given your context, your values, and your constraints, and no one else's. Others can give you all the advice in the world about how to be a good leader, and it still might not apply given what team dynamics, personal disposition, overall goals you're trying to accomplish, cultural factors, and many more. When you post your entire salvation as a new leader into finding that mentor, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're overlooking the fact that the whole point of being a leader is to carve a path and create an environment for others to do their best work. Yet you can't carve that path or create that environment organically if you're not consistently trying to match that to another path or environment that someone else has created. What you might lose is actually your individual unique contribution as a leader. When you try to mirror what other leaders you respect or read about, or even your mentors do, like giving yourself time to develop your own leadership style and figuring out how to reflect yourself and your own values. Your leadership is more than just writing down a checklist. I personally think everybody loves a checklist, but I think they lose out on what you kind of uniquely can contribute by adhering unbendingly to a checklist. If you don't have a checklist, what do you do? How do you know what path to carve? What environment to create? Well, the answer doesn't lie in your mentor. The answer also won't be found in your executive coach, or any book you'll read. Rather, the people who know how you can get better as a leader are your team, your direct reports, your peers, your boss, the people who you work alongside and work for every single day, the ones who bear the brunt of what you say and receive the consequences of your decisions. They have the answers, not your mentors. We often think of leadership as a single-player sport, but it's not. You can't get better in isolation. You must interact with your team. You have to know how you're thinking and your actions are affecting and reverberating to others. You have to go to the source. So instead of trying to find a mentor, go to that source. Ask each of your team members during your next one-on-one meeting, what's the biggest gap between intention and action? Where am I letting you down right now? What do you see as my greatest potential? When's the last time I was helpful to you? Maybe you don't want to know the answers. Maybe you're unsure. You'll get the full truth. You might not. But ask enough people, ask enough times with sincerity, and you'll shine a light on and learn more about your deficiencies and proficiencies than ever before. A mentor won't save you, but your willingness to talk to your team and reflect on yourself just might. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another great episode of Pest Equity Podcast. Again, I want to thank everybody for holding on and continual support. Don't forget, go to Instagram, follow us on Instagram at Pest Equity Podcast. If you have, share our page, share this podcast. If you have a question, comment, concern, feel free, hit us up, pestequitypodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Pest Equity Podcast. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Pest Equity Podcast and join the Facebook group. Have a question or topic for the show? Shoot us an email at pestequitypodcast@gmail.com.